And we are rolling on 11/14, also known as November 14th, 2017, where it's a beautiful day in Los Angeles. Eat your heart out, the rest of the world, where sunshine is shining. We're about to hear from Sydney, who's going to share with a personal commitment.
Hi, I'm Sydney.
Hi, Sydney.
One can choose to go back toward safety or forward toward growth. Growth must be chosen again and again, and fear must be overcome again and again. This quote by psychologist Abraham Maslow shows us how, in order to grow personally, sometimes we have to overcome our own fears. And I think this is important, and this leads me to my own personal commitment of stepping outside my comfort zone, especially on a social level. I think this is important for people because I'm not outgoing, and I know not everybody is outgoing as well, and sometimes it's hard for people to make friends, so I think a lot of people can relate to this. So I will give you 2 reasons why I'm personally committed to this, and 3 ways I've shown my commitment. So the first reason why I'm personally committed to stepping outside my comfort zone is because a lot of times in my life I've had to miss out on events because I was too scared to go to them. And I would just make myself physically sick. I just could not, I was just way too scared to go see people. And I remember my freshman year going into high school, there was an event where people could meet up before school started and make connections. And I was just so anxious, and I ended up making it there, but I threw up and my mom had to take me home. And honestly, I am so tired of missing out on stuff and seeing people go to fun events that I am just too scared to go to. So that's one reason why I am committed to stepping outside my comfort zone. The second reason is because I have struggled making and maintaining friends. Growing up with a twin, I kind of relied on her for friends. Who's a more sociable, outgoing twin. So I just kind of fed off of her friends. And I realized in high school, when we sort of drifted apart, that I had no idea how to make friends. So having those relationships is really important to me, and I've always wanted those relationships, but I never really know how. And I remember being on the tennis team, there's just a circle of girls, and I was trying to get into the conversation, but it was just hard for me. I just felt awkward. So wanting those relationships is another reason why I want to step out to my comfort zone. And so 3 ways I have taken these steps is just coming to UCLA in general. It was a big step for me, leaving my friends and family at home. So that was a big step outside my comfort zone. Another way is joining some clubs on campus. I thought that would be a good way for me to get into the social scene and trying to make those connections, stepping outside in that way. And a third way is saying yes to going places. I would never go anywhere because I was just too nervous leading up to the event. So now I've started going to get food and stuff like that with people, and it feels really nice. And honestly, doing these things was terrifying for me. It wasn't leaving, no, it was terrifying. It's still terrifying. So it's an ongoing process to do these things, to face my fears, to step outside my comfort zone. But ultimately, it's rewarding. In those moments with those people, I feel happy. It's just the moments leading up to it, it's just scary and anxiety-inducing. But ultimately, it's rewarding for me. So there should be no doubt in this room that I'm personally committed to stepping outside my comfort zone, especially into the social sphere. I've given you 2 reasons why. 1, I'm tired of missing out on things, and 2, I want those relationships in my life. And I've given you 3 ways I've demonstrated this commitment. And I do think Abraham Maslow was right. In order to grow, we have to step outside our comfort zone. We have to face our fears. And not only that, we have to keep choosing to do so. It's not you don't just grow without choosing to grow. You have to grow and overcome those fears continuously. And it is an ongoing process. And I know it's an ongoing process for growth for a lot of people, but I think it is extremely important to keep overcoming those fears. Thank you.
Thank you. What was the time?
4:36.
4:36. Which side did we start? Did we start over here before? No? Over here? Okay. Today, yeah, fine.
Hi, my name's Patricia.
Hi, Patricia.
You varied your pitch a lot, which is good. It kept the audience focused, or at least me. Your stories were relatable, and they seemed very genuine.
Would you mind pushing that white button? My camera's telling me I need a little bit more light. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, please.
Hi everyone, Adonis.
Hi, Adonis.
So I think your speech was really good. The only thing I would say is like at the end, I felt like you might have rushed a little bit. So other than that, something good.
Okay, good. Sydney, yeah. You chose to talk about. Good thing you had a plastic case on there, huh? Is it safe? Is it still light up? Chose to talk about, I guess, your shyness and your inability to connect with people, your fear, and that was took some courage, and I like that. So that was authentic and good. Undo your hands. Let them be by your side. You quoted Abraham Maslow from the famous Maslow hierarchy. And, it was a good quote, and you tied back to it nicely. And, yeah, we all have different fears, and so you did something more with the quote at the end than just repeat it, but said, we got to, continuing set out further goals and boundaries for ourselves till we die, really. Your thesis was fine. Your SIG statement you related to the audience in the way you said that I know I'm not alone in this, that many people have fear of making friends and striking out, I would just wonder and say, while you're here at UCLA, they have free psychological counseling, and I go to a psychiatrist, and there's no shame in it, and you might want to get a deeper understanding of what it is you have a fear of, and what it is you're so afraid of. But that's another issue. But you're so right. Why don't you? I think it's quiet out there. Why don't we leave the door open and get a little breeze through here? Yeah, thank you so much. But so your first example of not going to socials and throwing up was good and vivid. Your second example of relying on your twin to mooch off of her and use her friends and not make any friends of your own was also revealing and tempting. I will tell you, I had a different experience. When I was traveling through Europe in the 60s, I decided I didn't want to be a loner. I wanted to meet as many people as I could. And so when I would go into bars or restaurants and I saw, I was traveling alone, and I saw a group of people that looked interesting, I would walk up to them and say, I'd introduce myself, and I'd say, I'm Tom Miller from Los Angeles, and you look like an interesting group. Would you mind if I joined you? And I was only rejected about 4 or 5 times in a couple of years I was traveling. And, a lot of people say, boy, I could never do that. I would just be so afraid of people saying, get out of here, weirdo. But I met some really interesting people that way by just going up and saying, you look like an interesting group, and I'm traveling alone, and here I am. But I never had that, like you have. So I don't understand it, but maybe you'll get to understand it. On your actions, I think coming to UCLA, as you shared with us in your film speech, was a big, important step. Joining clubs, we liked and heard the names of them, specificity, so we know what you're doing, and then going out to get food or making friends, good. And how you feel was well put. You said that you're feeling very happy now that you're conquering this fear, and I like that. Your summary was good. Your conclusion and tieback were all excellent. And you did an interesting thing with the Maslow quote at the end. Your canais make less distracting hand gestures, reduce filler words like and be confident in myself. How'd it go?
The first, the 1 and 3 I think were good. I don't know, my hand gestures I thought were okay. And then I did use yeah. But,
Well, you can watch yourself tonight and have someone, if you practice with a live person and ask them to raise their hand when you do like or it will go away as a filler. I would also say, let's all turn off our phones like I didn't. I would say, who the hell is calling me? It's London. How do I do this? How do I say message? Can't talk, you moron. Okay, good. So, the final thing I want to say to you is, you want to fake it till you make it, and just, be confident. The one last thing I want to say to you that I just noticed today for the first time is, I want you to tap yourself right on the top of your stomach, right about here.
okay.
Upper diaphragm. Go. Can you do that for a couple of minutes?
A couple minutes?
How about an hour? People have a way of projecting their voice either from here or from here, or some people project sometimes because of a cough or cold, they project a little more nasal quality and they resonate their voice with their nose. And what I would say is I'd like to see you practice lowering your voice a little bit so that you resonate from the center of your mouthpiece or from here. And you can do that by practicing and doing your speech from here. So today I want to share with you, and this will remind you of where to project from, okay?
Okay.
Nice job. Okay. That will bring us to.
I'm a C as well.
What?
I'm a C as well.
Okay. By the way, okay, whatever. Go on. Can you take that podium and move it way into the corner? Yeah, thank you. No, that's better, yeah. Thank you so much. Okay, good. Okay, rock and roll, please.
Sorry. Oh. Hello everyone, my name is Roberto.
Hi, Rebecca.
Today I'm going to paraphrase a quote by Paul Pershaw. Our most basic instinct is not survival, but family. Most of us would give our lives to save a family member, yet we live our life sometimes like we live our lives as if we take our family for granted. Today I'm gonna share my personal commitment to my family. I'm gonna share 2 reasons why I'm personally committed to my family, and 3 actions I took to reach this commitment. Now the reason I'm sharing this with y'all today is because I feel that being many times we're in college, we get busy with our academics, our clubs, and our social activities, that we forget the people who actually helped us get here. I feel something that many of us can relate to, and that's why I decided to bring it up today. Now, the first reason why I'm personally committed to my family is because I don't go home enough. I'm from San Diego. It's not that far. However, I always try to be very involved in UCLA. I try to do good in academics, and I stay in my little bubble of UCLA. And the thing is, I was raised with my grandparents, so it's like they're both in their high 70s, and so being quite frank, any day could be their last. And sometimes when I think about that, and I think like I'm over here so busy at UCLA that I don't go back enough. Like, what if one day I go back and they're not there anymore? So even though I want to be successful, you always have to think back. And when I think about that, it makes me feel really bad because, like I said, I'm from San Diego. I live 2 hours away. It's like it wouldn't take that much of commitment. Yet I don't know. I feel that that's something that could be easily improved. Now, the second reason why I'm personally committed to my family is also because I have one brother. It's because 2 of my family members are actually might move away from the state. One of my little brothers just joined the Marines. Like, he's 6 months in, and he's probably gonna get deployed to I think Afghanistan. So that's something. And then my older brother is actually in his way of joining the army. So he's gonna take my niece and his family wherever he goes. The thing is, I have my grandparents and my brothers. So if they go, kind of all my family's pretty much gone. So this made me realize just how little time made me also feel bad because of my brothers. I feel same thing as if we understand my family. I feel bad that I don't spend enough time with them or I don't talk to them enough, even though they're so easily reachable. That it made me feel bad, and it made me feel motivated to want to talk to them more because I know that they're also going to be gone. So 3 actions that I've taken to try to reach this personal commitment have been: 1, I've been trying to have my brothers teach my grandma and my grandparents how to use FaceTime, which is it's a way where it's I communicate better. They can see me, and then I don't have to be there. So it saves me the 2-hour drive there and 2-hour drive back. So that's something that's not really working out because though people technology is hard for them, but it's it's something that I'm attempting. Another thing is I'm trying to go home at least once a quarter. That means at least once or twice, and just even though so I'm willing to give up 1 weekend of not doing this event or giving up this social activity. And then lastly, texting my brothers more. I mean, they're young, they're very active in their phones. My brother just got his phone back, my little brother, because he was in boot camp, so he couldn't have it. So now I can have more contact with them. Same thing, my older brother, he's always working, but when he's out, I can always text him. So that's something I'm doing. And this makes me feel good because I feel that I'm actually keeping in touch with them. As well as I can also relay information, or they can keep me in touch of what's happening with my grandparents. Finally, So today I have shared my personal commitment to my family. I shared the 2 things the reasons why I'm personally dedicated to my family. I shared the 3 actions that I've taken. After this speech, I feel there should be no doubt that I'm personally committed to my family. As Paul Pershaw said, let's not forget Paul Pearson's quote about living our life as we take our family for granted. Sorry, I froze. Oh yeah, so if we were given a life for a family, might as well actually let's begin valuing family more. Thank you.
What is the time?
4:29.
4:29. What'd you like?
I'm Tina.
Hi, Tina.
I thought your speech was really good. I liked your stories, and I thought it was very heartwarming.
Improvement?
Hi, Natalie.
Hi, Natalie.
I would say that, like, I think that you did a good job, like, explaining, like, the personal aspect. Like, you're like, somebody who's, like, likable when you speak. I would just say maybe a little bit sometimes slow down a tiny bit. It's hard to, I have the same problem. It's hard to understand sometimes. As well as just, like, I think it's just a matter of memorization. Like, sometimes, like, when you memorize things, you're able to go slower because, like, you have to do less thinking, I feel like. But, yeah, other than that, like, I felt like it was relatable.
Roberto, nice speech. We'll start with positive. It was heartfelt, good emotional connection. Pretty authentic, revealing of you feeling bad about not visiting your grandparents and your brothers. So on that level, you fulfilled the assignment. You've heard me say to others, you only get one chance to make a good first impression, and you want to spend a little more time on knowing your opening quote and having it nailed, and tell us who Paul Pershaw is. You know, who is he? Some dude that you met, some homeless guy you met down at Starbucks? I don't know. But we don't know. And you didn't tell us. You didn't give him any credibility.
Sure.
So, and you've heard me say this to others. You've heard other people. You just heard, well, maybe you weren't here, but you just heard your classmates, that famous psychologist Abraham Maslow commented on. Anyway, point well taken? Yeah, good. You had almost 45 seconds, so you knew your speech, so you could slow down a great deal. You need to work on your diction. You have what I call lazy lips, and you need to work on what I would say is this exercise of saying your speech with your teeth clenched together and say, today I want to share with you my personal commitment to my family, and do your whole speech with your teeth clenched together. And this will get you in the habit of over-pronouncing words, because you, as your colleague just suggested, you're moving and you're slurring, okay? So you lose that, and you're on the road to a really killer speech. Did a good job on your significance statement. You sold it. You understand the significance statement. You sold it to them and said, you guys, don't forget how important your family is when you get busy and all this hoo-ha that goes on around here. So you did that well. Your first reason, you told us you were raised by your grandparents, and you suddenly dawned on you that, hey, you're not going to be here forever. And you are right. And let me tell you that I was in a little argument with my father, and we were arguing about something really silly, and I hadn't spoken to him in 6 months. And I was with the debate team in New York, and my wife calls me and says, your father just had a heart attack and died. Whew. I'll tell you, trying to tell a gravestone that you appreciate all that he did isn't the same as telling him. And it's one of the biggest regrets of my life, having that argument and not telling him more often, especially since he was an older fella, that I loved him and that I cared about him. So you're right, and you better call them often and tell them, because, boom, life is very fleeting, and you never know when it's going to be gone. And I'll tell you, that's something you'll regret. Your second reason on your brothers was good. You talked about your brother in the Army and in the Marines, and those are dangerous professions. So I would also suggest you better spend some quality time with them now, because they've decided to serve our country, and that means they may die. And I hate to be so crass about it, but that's in the contract. On your actions, trying to teach your grandmother and grandfather FaceTime was good. I think just calls are good. Once a quarter, go home. Yeah, that's good. Texting your brother, and how you feel was good. The actions I've taken. Can you say that word, taken? Taken. Yeah, you sound like you're saying tooken, and that's taken. And you want to say taken. The actions I've taken, not tooken. So don't make it sound like you're saying tooken, because that grates on people when you say it that way. Okay, so take it. Said it twice. So you'll see it tonight on YouTube. How you mispronounce that word twice. Tie back to the introduction. I have no problem with it, except you didn't know it. And I haven't clue one who Paul Pershall is, and you should have just aborted, really, when you called so much attention to the fact that you didn't know it. I would have just let it go. Boom, you're done. Thank you, Roberta.
Thank you.
Oh, I need to see you after class. See me after class. Yeah. Okay, good. Okay, that will bring us to, now we can move on. Let's hear from Aaron.
Self-reviews?
What?
Self-reviews? Where should I put the self-review?
On the self-review part.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, good. A half step forward would be cool. Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, I hear talking. Get that evil phone away. Thank you. Aaron stands before you, managing attention, communicating respect non-verbally, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi guys, my name's Aaron.
Hi, Aaron.
So I want to start today with a short activity. Imagine that we replace all of you guys with random adults selected from across the country. How many of those adults do you think would reach the recommended physical activity guidelines per day? Any guesses? I'll give you a hint, it's not that many. One. There would be one adult in this entire room that gets the recommended 30 minutes of physical activity every day. Now, this statistic from the National Association of Sport and Physical Exercise is pretty shocking, and it tells you that 95% of American adults, that might not necessarily be representative of this class, but of the population in general, do not take their health to be one of their top priorities. So today I'm going to share with you my personal commitment to healthy living and treating my health as one of my top priorities. It's something that should be important to you all because it can extend your life, it can give you more energy, it can make you feel more confident and better about yourself, and it can allow you to do things like go on hikes with your friends or other strenuous physical activities that you might otherwise not be able to do. So with that, I'd like to go into two reasons that I'm personally committed to my health and three activities and three actions that I am doing to fulfill this commitment. So the first reason that I am committed to my health is that in high school and all throughout growing up, I was very active. I played some sort of sport every day after school, and in the summer there were clubs, camps, anything that I could do to be outside, to use my body, to test myself, I was doing it. But when you get to college, you have a lot more free time, and you have to make those choices for yourself. They're not made for you. So I decided to take it upon myself to treat my health as a personal project and to try to better myself each and every day. The next reason that I am personally committed to my health is that when I was growing up, my dad was diagnosed with diabetes, and I didn't know what that meant, but I saw him prick his finger every day to test his insulin, and I saw him struggle with his diet. I saw him hate having to go exercise like it was the worst thing in the world, and none of that made sense to me, but I knew that wasn't something that I wanted for myself. So from a very young age, I took it upon myself to really make sure that I was doing everything I could to not go that route. And when I started to get a little bigger and my doctor said, hey, you're getting pudgy, this isn't good, you're at risk because your dad, you have a family history, I knew that this isn't something that's going to be easy necessarily, but if you work at it day in, day out, eventually your health will be there and you won't have to do things like prick your finger, you won't have to worry about your waistline, you won't have to worry about your body mass index and all sorts of other metrics that somebody who didn't take the necessary precautions early on has to take. So next I'd like to talk about some of the actions that I'm taking to pursue my personal commitment. First is I keep my apartment stocked with healthy foods. One of the main reasons why people resort to junk food, fast food, things that are unhealthy is because that's just what's readily available. It's easy, and when you're hungry, you don't want to go through the long process of making something that will also make you feel good. You just want to get that salty potato chip or that slice of pizza that you have left over or the burger that's in your fridge. So I keep healthy foods and I prepare them ahead of time so that when I'm in need of them, I can just grab them and my hunger is satisfied by something that's also good for me. The next thing is I make time every day to go to the gym. Notice I said make, not try to find. There's a difference there. A lot of times you have other priorities and commitments that might get in the way, but if you really place your health as one of the top priorities, you'll find a way and you'll squeeze it in and you'll do what you've got to do to make that happen. The last thing is that I surround myself by other similarly motivated people, and this just happens by going to places like the gym frequently and you find other people that are also interested in doing things to better themselves. So focusing on a goal is a lot easier when you have other people that also focus on the goal and that can build you up and support you in that way. Now, when I did all these things, I felt very positive. I felt like I was doing something good for myself, like I was taking my own life into my own hands and really just making sure that I was doing everything I could to see the next day and see the day after that and build a positive future. With that, I'd like to conclude. I've shown you 2 reasons why I'm personally committed to my health and 3 things that I'm doing to fulfill that commitment. I'd like to inspire you all to take your own health into your own hands and not become a statistic. Try to be that 5% that, if you were in this room, would be healthy, and not the 95 that the National Association of Sports and Physical Education thinks you will be. Thank you.
Thank you. Over time.
5:42.
5:42. Okay. What did you like?
Bailey,
Hi, Bailey.
I really liked your speech. You're really confident up there. And I like how you walked back and forth and kept me engaged.
Improvement.
I'm Sydney.
Hi, Sydney.
I thought it was a really good speech. Just you did some speakling and the time, but
Yeah.
Like that steep line, huh?
Yeah, it's just kind of a go-to. Gotta stop.
Well, you know, that's why we have the old camera. Aaron, yeah. Well, let me start with, I always like to try to start with the positive. So, I appreciate you sharing the story about your father and not wanting to be like him and follow in his footsteps and become a diabetic. That was pretty personal and private. It's about as private as you got. So that was fairly authentic. And that was good. Let's start with your introduction. You when you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, I would characterize your introduction as a little bit insulting to your audience. You're saying, most of you don't get enough exercise. 95% of you don't get the required amount that you need. And I think I'd be careful about throwing around statistics about if I could replace you with people that get more exercise and build it up. Yeah.
The point I was making,
Yeah.
and it's outlined in my outline as well,
Yeah.
is that this class is not representative of that.
Right.
And that if I
They're
instead,
atypical.
yeah, if I instead replaced with the average,
the masses,
they would be more unhealthy than us.
Yeah.
So,
and what I'm saying is, so you replace them, and be careful about replacing them with masses that you're going to insult. And it's like, raise your hand. How many of you have stopped beating your wife? But yeah, okay, I got you. You didn't insult them per se. You just replaced them with people that weren't healthy.
I
Referring to the general
American
population.
demographic.
Okay. That's my first point.
Okay.
My second point is your thesis significance statement was well done. You sold it to them, to taking hikes and so forth. Your first reason was you had a sports background and you had more freedom and you decided to make it a goal. Fine. I didn't find it particularly revealing or particularly personal, but it was a reason. I thought you did a better job in your second reason when you talked about diabetes and you're watching your father prick his finger. That's where the speech got really good, in my judgment. Your actions were all consistent with your PC, and how you felt positive was good. Be careful of mixing up the summary and the conclusion. A summary restates the 2 reasons and 3 actions. The conclusion says there should be no doubt in this room. I'm personally committed to being fit and exercising every day and that sort of thing. And you did tie back to, I encourage you to take seriously and try to become the best version of yourself that you can be. So that you ended on a positive note, and that was good. Canise. Make good eye contact. Don't fidget with your hands. Have a strong finish. How'd it go?
I think I made really good eye contact. I wasn't fidgeting. Like, fidgeting was one of the comments I got in my last speech where I was kind of playing with my zipper.
Yeah.
I didn't use my hands necessarily in the best way because I got some feedback that I was steepling.
Yeah.
But I wasn't fidgeting, so.
Okay, good.
Or I don't think I was fidgeting as much.
Better, yeah.
And then the last. Can you remind me of the last canal?
Strong finish.
Strong finish.
Yeah.
You just said that you think I did a good job.
Yeah.
I think that I did a pretty good job of finishing with punctuality and not pausing, carrying myself all the way through the speech.
Good. Yeah. I think I don't know if you timed yourself and you checked it and you saw that it was going long, but I think a lot of the first part about how much you practice every day and all that stuff, and a little cut down on how much you keep in your apartment and that kind of stuff, you could have cut. I just keep good food in my apartment. Secondly, I do this, and thirdly, I do this. Would have got you out of this in time, and you wouldn't have gone so overtime. Okay. But overall, nice job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Professor, do you mind if I go next?
I was going to call on somebody else, but are you a D? Okay, just a minute. Okay. Begin.
Hi, I'm Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Have you ever been in a situation where the thoughts in your head...
Oh my God, sorry.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
Have you ever been in a situation where the thoughts in your head didn't quite come out the way that you wanted it to? I'm sure everyone has. I've definitely felt that way, and I've felt that way my entire life. Growing up, I loved to read, I loved to write, I liked to play video games with my brother, and I just liked being alone in my room. But that meant that I wasn't out socializing as much as other kids in school were. And so eventually, over time, I started to realize that I wasn't as good at communicating with others as I would have liked to be. So that's why I am personally committed to being more articulate, meaning that I just want to be able to better express myself. And today I'm going to be telling you 2 reasons why I'm personally committed to this, and 3 actions that I've taken to achieve this. Being articulate is very important to me, but I think it also should be important to anyone who feels or who concerns themselves with their self-image, because usually it's geared towards like physical appearance, and that can tell a lot about someone, but I feel that words tell a lot about someone's like intelligence. So that's why I think it's relevant to everyone. So the first reason why I would like to be more articulate is that I would like to appear more knowledgeable. I can tell you one genuinely embarrassing story that happened to me in high school. I unwillingly joined the high school mock trial team, which is kind of like a debate team, and we practiced a lot, and we prepared a lot, and I felt relatively prepared, but I think I overestimated how well I could communicate that on the day of, because on the day of I was up there defending my client, and I completely did the job wrong. I started to stutter, I forgot everything that I had practiced, and overall we just lost a lot of validation for our team because I couldn't defend my client well. And at the end, the judge also was commenting on everyone who had presented, and he mentioned to me that he noticed that I had a speech impediment. And that hurt me a lot, and when I went home, I just started to cry because I didn't realize that my communication problem had been so bad. But it was also good because it kind of jolted me awake and made me want to do something about it.
Good.
The second reason that I would like to be more articulate is that I would like to connect better with others. In high school, I had friends, but I never really fit into any particular friend group. And I kind of realized that a large contributing factor to that was that I wasn't able to express myself emotionally well. And so that's another reason why I feel the need to be more articulate. So when I came to UCLA, I made it one of my goals to improve myself in that way. The 3 actions that I took to improve the way that I communicated was that, the first reason was that I joined a public speaking club called the Drug Outreach and Education Program. And we went around to different schools in LA and we just talked about drugs in a non-biased way. And it was really hard at first, and it still kind of is, but I got a lot better at it. I've been in it for 2 years and I'm now the president. The second action that I took was that I forced myself into social situations when I came to college. I joined different clubs. I would strike up conversations with randomly people in class that I sat next to, even though it was terrifying. And I just tried to be more social and force myself into it. The third action that I took was that I just in general tried to appear more confident, even though I wasn't at the beginning, because I knew that ultimately it would help me in the end. In summary, I've told you 2 reasons why I have, fourthly, when I did these actions, I felt very inauthentic at first, actually, because I wasn't confident. But eventually I grew more into the person that I wanted to be. So I felt better at the end. So in summary, I've told you 2 reasons why I am personally committed to being articulate. The first reason is that I wanted to appear more knowledgeable, and the second reason is that I wanted to connect better with others. And I've taken 3 actions to do so. I've joined a public speaking club, I joined more clubs and forced myself into social situations, and I tried to be more confident. So in conclusion, there should be no doubt in anyone's mind that I am trying really hard to be more articulate. And I know that I have a lot of room for improvement, but I also know that I have come so far from where I was in high school, and that just motivates me more to keep practicing. Thank you.
Thank you. Time?
4:52.
4:52. What'd you like?
Tim,
Hi, Tim.
I think you did a really good job with your speech. If you hadn't said anything, I would have no idea you ever had issues speaking, so that was cool. And I just thought it was a good speech.
Thank you, Tim. Improvement.
Hi, Nolan.
Hi, Nolan.
I thought sometimes your hand movements were a little distracting, but other than that, it was a good speech.
Okay. And you'll get to see your hands tonight on YouTube. You started with a rhetorical question, which was sort of not my favorite way to start a speech, but it was a universally good question because we've all spoken out of school, I called it, or blurted something out that we regretted, and so it was a pretty good rhetorical question. Give the audience a moment to think about your rhetorical question if you're going to use it, but I suggest you go with poem, a quote, a story, a joke, something else for your next final persuasive speech, and get used to trying something else that grabs your audience and draws them in and makes them sit up and want to listen. It's more sticky. Yeah. So your thesis was good, and you want to be more articulate, and you told us a good thesis preview. So we knew what you were going to do. Relax your hands. Just don't be by your side. And you sort of in the abstract sold it to your audience by saying, you know, our words say a lot about us. And so learn from what I have to say, I guess, you know. So could have done a little better job on the significance statement, okay? Because it's significant to the audience. Okay. Laura. you had your first reason, which you told a story. Thank you for that. I love stories, as you know. And you told the story of joining mock trial your senior year, and everything was going swimmingly until you were asked to stand and deliver on the real day, and you couldn't stand and deliver. You stuttered, you choked, you freaked out, and it didn't go well. And to add insult to the injury, the judge said you have a speech impediment. Ouch. That's a tough thing to hear publicly, and I appreciate you publicly talking about it. Not an easy thing to do. So thank you for that. That was authentic. That was good. I like that, yeah. On your, can you step, okay, yeah, good, okay. On your second reason, you told us that you're kind of a loner and that you had friends, but no group of friends, and you wanted, and you knew that, and so you were saying, I want to change that. So your actions were, I will say, an overview consistent with your PC, joining the drug public speaking club. Sounds excellent. I would also say to you there's a Toastmasters. There's also the debate team. One thing I want to say, by the way, which is a little bit of an aside, but one thing, I think I talked about this very early in the quarter, but one thing about, you say, I want to be considered more articulate and knowledgeable. Well, one way to be more articulate and knowledgeable is to get some knowledge. And, you know, one of the things that people on the debate team are required to do is read the newspaper every day and research topics and think about them and argue about them. And that's one way they learn to think critically and, you know, and to test their arguments and things like that. And I'm sure you've had to do that a little bit in your drug public speaking course as well. But just a thought for you, right? But, you know, it's one thing to say, I want to be articulate. I want to be, you know, this way. Well, that's one way to get there. Yeah. On your how you felt, you almost blew it. I suppose my nonverbal, as I started circling that I was taking points off for you not getting there, gave it away, but you quickly circled back and did your feeling state, which was good. Your summary and conclusion was wonderfully distinct, unlike the last speaker we had, where you said, in summary, you said three things that were your supporting arguments, and then the conclusion was, there should be no doubt in this room that I'm committed to being more articulate. So your tie back was good. Let's talk about your canais. Speech goals. Use less filler words. Speak more slowly and try not to rush. Use better body movements and gestures. How'd it go?
I think that I use less filler words, but I'm not sure. I'll have to rewatch.
Just let me interrupt. Sorry to interrupt you, but what filler words are you aware of using?
Yeah. A lot.
Yeah. Okay.
And I tried to speak more slowly, and I noticed that my time was actually getting less and less, so I sped up at the end.
Yeah.
And I apparently, as someone commented, I used distracting hand gestures, so I need to work on that still.
Good. I don't want to say much about it because when I say too much about it, people end up like stiffly holding them by their side. You can just gesture naturally. You don't want to steeple like some people do that, you know, like to do this a lot, you know, or put their hands together and claps them together, or pinch themselves in reassurance as they're speaking. You don't want to do that. Do you practice with a live person?
No.
Okay, well, I would recommend that if you can find somebody to hear you. It makes a big difference than just doing the mirror. Okay? Good job, Laura. Thank you. Okay, that will bring us to Bailey. Oh, guess what, Bailey? Ooh.